Welcome back to the Six Pennies podcast. We got all three guys here today, and let's just go ahead and jump right in. We got three questions to go through today. So, first one comes from Troy Wong, and he asks,
Troy.
which NBA players are most likely to not show up during the playoffs? So we're already like 2 or 3 games in for each series, but you can bring it back to what you thought beforehand too. So, Albert, let's start with you.
Yeah, so going into the playoffs, this is before, like you said, before any of the games were played. I thought Washington was like overachieving all year, and so with that being said, I thought their best player, John Wall, was like a prime candidate to just flop in the playoffs. Like, I don't even remember who they're playing, to be honest, but I just
The
think
Hawks.
that, oh yeah,
Dwight
the Hawks.
Howard.
Yeah. So the Hawks. They're playing the Hawks in the first round, and I just felt like Atlanta had a legitimate shot at an upset. But after a couple games, like John Wall has taken his game to a whole new level. Like he was already like all NBA type in the regular season, but in the playoffs, he's like even more, and he's like talking trash and staring down Dennis Schroeder and stuff, and so
Sure.
yeah, he's definitely like on a mission, and I like that of John Wall because I feel like he has all the talent in the world, but sometimes his mindset gets in the way of things. But it seems like he's honing his like anger into the right places, and so for me, John Wall was a prime candidate, but he's no longer. If you were to ask me like now after a couple games, and I don't think it's his fault, obviously, but everything that he's dealing with his life personally, it has to be Isaiah Thomas because he went from like an all-star, maybe even a second team All NBA, the most clutch player this year, and into someone who is down 0-2 against the number 8 seed in the East.
Yeah, Timmy, what do you think?
I have two answers. One is probably the Raptors team in general. I think the first round almost every year until last year they had not gotten past the first round, barely won any games. I heard some stats that Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan have two of the worst shooting or like field goal percentages of any players ever. Like two of the 15 or 20 worst field goal percentages of any players in the history of the league in the playoffs. So that would have been my bet. I think they're struggling with the Bucks, but they still have a good chance. My other team and players, I guess, would be our buddies in LA, the Clippers, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
We know they're not going to show up at least. If not in this round, then next round they're going to collapse.
Yeah, I love Lowry. He's also way up there, maybe probably top 5 on my list in terms of likability. But there's just something about Lowry in the first round. He just really, really, really struggles. And this year it looks like it's no different, at least in the first few games. But at the same time, even though I expected him to struggle a little bit, I didn't think that they'd just get blown out or just get dominated by the Bucks. So that's been a surprise. The only other NBA player I can think of who most likely to not show up during the playoffs would be our old friend Dwight Howard. I feel like he's just getting to a point where he's almost obsolete, right? Like his skill set, like he doesn't. Like I look at what Clint Capella is doing now for the Rockets first, and I think about how that could have been Dwight, that should have been Dwight, but he just didn't buy into the system. He kept wanting ISOs for the past decade, even though that's not the strength of his game, and he wasn't happy just kind of doing the dirty work. What do you guys think? Is Dwight? I heard he didn't even play like the fourth quarter. He got benched this last game. Does Dwight and the rest of the Hawks, do they have a chance against the Wizards?
No, they have no chance at all. I didn't watch the game, but I saw this clip of Dwight Howard getting owned by Marcin Gortat and the other guys on the Wizards, and it was really ugly. Like he was like kind of reaching for a loose ball, and like other guys were diving and stuff, and Dwight couldn't even like reach down to the ground fast enough before guys were diving for the ball, and then he just kind of got like boxed out and a layup scored on him. It's pretty ugly.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even name one player on the Hawks that would start on Washington. So there's just
Paul Millsap.
oh, I forgot he's still there. But
He's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only one though.
maybe just him. Yeah.
he would. Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, sorry.
Well, talking about Gortat, like that's an ex teammate. He used to play behind Howard on the way back
Oh,
on the
oh
Magic.
yeah.
So do you think like what's the story there? Do you think that Dwight is just done, or do you think he just still hasn't found the right fit, or what is it? Like Gortat, we can't say that he's better than Dwight, right? From a skill standpoint, can we?
I think at this point we can. I think Dwight's just done. I don't think there's a story.
Yeah,
I think he's done.
I think you were right when you said that Dwight is obsolete because I haven't even thought about him all year, and I think we've already spent too much time on Dwight Howard in this podcast.
Yeah, I can't believe you keep asking us questions about him.
But I want
No.
to jump back. I want to jump back to Timmy's two players, Blake Griffin and Chris Paul. You know, they were like the darlings of the NBA just a couple years ago before, you know, the rise of Steph Curry and stuff. But why do you think Chris Paul hasn't made a conference finals? And then my follow up to that is why do you think he's never blamed that he hasn't made a conference finals? It's either Blake or he doesn't have a good team in New Orleans or injuries or something, but it's never Chris Paul, the player.
I love this. You're always about the blame. Like who gets the blame? Because you always pick out the players who don't get enough of the blame.
It's true because like when it comes to like because we all agree Chris Paul even now, but especially in his peak, he was like a top 5 player in the NBA. He's already regarded like a top 5 point guard or a top 10 point guard of all time. And if we're saying like all time behind a player, that means that player is either transcendent or generational or like very, very unique, very rare. And so that player should shoulder the blame as well as like get most of the praise. And I feel like Chris Paul just never got any of the blame, even though he's never made it past the second round.
I blame him. I don't know. I don't see any reason not to blame him. It kind of goes back to the Russell Westbrook conundrum where it's like
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring.
I don't think I would enjoy playing with Chris Paul either. He would set me up probably for a lot of great shots or dunks or whatever,
Lob
whoever
City,
I am.
man. Lob City.
But I don't think it would be that fun. He would get really upset if I ever dropped a pass or turned it over, or if I missed a guy like on a switch. He would just start yelling at me. This little guy just like coming up in my face. It would be very annoying to be on his team.
So Timmy, if you're in the NBA, like your ideal team is like the Sixers, right? Like you just kind of go out there, do your own thing. Winning doesn't matter.
It's all about the process.
I want guys who are fun to play with who also win. I would love to play on the Rockets. I would love to play with LeBron.
Okay. Well, that's fair. That's the exact same point I was going to bring up, though. Like,
In other words, I am Shane Battier.
yes, those two teams. But yeah, the Clippers, they just all this time still haven't found like a reliable secondary ball handler or secondary playmaker. People thought that could be Griffin. I don't think that's the case. Jamal Crawford's there. He can handle the ball, obviously, but he's not going to be creating for anyone else. He's just creating his own shot. So I think that's a big weakness there. But you're right, Albert. He probably should get more of the blame than most of us give him.
Okay, that's just what I wanted to hear. That I'm right.
Hey, anything that gets you to hate the Clippers, like me and Timmy, we're all for.
Yeah.
So let's go on to our second question. This one comes from Josh Ling, who, by the way, hey Josh, we sent out the
congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations again. We sent out your VR goggles. Haven't heard back from you. Hopefully you got them and you're just like stuck in some VR level, like Inception style, just totally immersed. But yeah, hope you enjoy it. But he had a question. Actually, it wasn't even a question, just a one-word response on our last poll. He just said heartbreaks. I'm not sure how to tackle this one.
What?
You guys can go in a personal, like, romantic heartbreaks if you guys want, but we can tackle this first from maybe a sports standpoint. So when you think of sports heartbreaks, what are Albert, let's start with you. What is the biggest sports heartbreak that you can think of.
Yeah, this
That
was
you
a
experienced
really
personal.
tough question because my first initial reactions were, is he asking about my love life or what's going on here? But if you're gonna single it down or whittle it down to sports, I would say the last 7 years of Tiger Woods' career.
True.
I feel like I'm one of his biggest fans. Like I am obsessed with like, oh my gosh, look at this video of him practicing, and like, oh my gosh, he's back. He signed up for all these tournaments. Like he's back. He's healthy, and I've been doing this for 7 years now. Well, really 6 years because 2 years ago he couldn't even play. But it's been since 2008, right? Since he last won a major, and for some reason, in my heart of hearts, I still think he can win one, and I'm just like repeatedly getting disappointed and heartbroken over and over and over again.
How many more majors does he need for the record?
So he's currently sitting at 14, and Jack has 18. So there's no way.
Okay. Yeah. So I used to be huge on Tiger. I used to love him even before I played golf. I don't anymore. For I guess more. It's just hard to cheer for him anymore. But even though I don't like him anymore, I will say that I respect you and our friend Lawrence for the past 6, 7 years of Facebook statuses and tweets. Every single time it looks like he might be making a comeback, there's going to for sure be a status update like Tiger Week or Tiger's back or something like that. So respect.
Yeah, so a lot of people who don't know, Tiger Woods just had back surgery 2 days ago, and the surgeon said that it usually takes around 6 months for the person to, recover to have full capacity and to be able to work out again. I think this is probably like 4 or 5 back surgeries for him now, in addition to like his 4 knee surgeries and stuff. And so I think he's just like, mentally, he's definitely done because mentally he doesn't have the confidence to just go out there and suck. Because sometimes in golf, you just have to suck before you get better. So mentally, he's not there, and then physically, like his body is just not allowing him to swing a golf club, and so that's why he's done. And it sucks for me because like he is my love for playing the game of golf is actually 110% contingent on Tiger Woods. So last year when his Mark Steinberg, his like PR team came out and said he's signing up for this tournament, he's signing up for that tournament. So he signed up for 4 tournaments in 6 weeks, which is like really really busy for a golfer, like a golfer's career. 4 tournaments in 6 weeks. I literally drove to like Golfsmith that day and like looked into buying clubs and a new golf bag and all this stuff because I was like, oh my gosh, if Tiger's back, that means I have to come back to the game of golf. And like now that he's out, and Mock, you can vouch for this, I'm literally giving away my golf stuff for free. Like,
fire sale.
Like, yeah, that's all I said to my friends. I was like, golf fire sale. Like, I'm done. Like, no more. So for me, sports heartbreak is definitely 100% without a doubt, by far, Tiger Woods.
I mean, I understand that. I know you love Tiger Woods, but at the same time, I can't believe that Tiger Woods is higher on your list than like a Dallas Cowboys or Texas Rangers or Dallas Mavs related heartbreak.
Yeah, he's higher. I'll be honest.
Wow, so the 06 finals don't come in there?
The 06 finals would be number 1 if the 2011 finals never existed, but because we ended up getting one anyways for Dallas and for Dirk. Like it's 06, it's not as painful. I mean,
I would think about the Romo fumble.
No, not even that. The most painful Dallas sports thing in my lifetime, or in my like watching lifetime, so the last 20 years, it's by far the World Series between the Rangers and the Cardinals. Yeah, because we had that game 6 in the bag, and freaking Nelly Cruz couldn't catch a fly ball, and Neftali Feliz couldn't throw a strike, and it's like, are you serious? Like you've been doing this your entire life, and you couldn't catch a fly ball.
But hey, respect for Tiger Woods fandom being above all that. That's pretty crazy. That's almost unheard of. Timmy, what about you? What comes to mind when you think of sports heartbreak?
Yeah, I have two that came to mind initially. One is 1997 NBA Conference Finals, Rockets against the Jazz. Yeah, John Stockton hits a game winner after Karl Malone hugs Clyde Drexler all the way to half court. Somehow, doesn't get called for the illegal screen. But if we had won that year, man, we would have gone up against the Bulls and had our chance against Jordan. And I remember that was a huge heartbreak at the time. Yeah. The other one that I think of is in 2010, the 2010 Rose Bowl. Mock, I think you were in LA for that, right? And that was UT against Alabama, and Colt McCoy, I think, got hurt like in the first quarter or something, and then it was we had taken the lead, which was already unexpected. He got hurt, he was out, and that was pretty much the end of it. That was a pretty big heartbreak. Was that also the night, Mock, when your stomach like I don't know, stopped working, or so you were like in so much pain?
I kind of
remember the entire night, like fetal position, curled up on the ground before, and then we still went out to drink right after.
Yeah, I was curled up with a bottle of Pepto-Bismol, and then we were waiting to go out, and I just kept saying, "Okay, just give me a second." And then finally, we were able to go out. That was the beginning of that short-lived nickname, Ulcer Boy.
Oh, Ulcer Boy.
That's a terrible nickname.
Yeah, that was a rough weekend.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened. I just know you kept saying, "Give me a second," or "Give me a few minutes," and we waited like 2 hours.
Well, I remember I went straight from LA to Tampa, Florida, to do an inventory trip right after that, and I remember my stomach hurt so bad then that I ended up going to the ER there, which was a big regret now because they didn't do anything except charge me a bunch of money. But Ulcer Boy lives on in legend.
Was Ulcer Boy the biggest heartbreak you've had?
I didn't even think about that weekend when I think of sports heartbreaks. Yes, that was a tough game, but that game was so drawn out. So that happened the first quarter, and kind of we realized that Colt McCoy wasn't coming back, so it was kind of just delaying the inevitable of what's that guy's name? Blake? No.
Nick Saban?
No. Garrett Gilbert. Just the beginning of the end of his career, not being able to really do anything with the offense. But yeah, when I think of sports heartbreaks, the biggest one that comes to mind is 2013 playoffs. I believe Rockets against the Blazers.
Oh, that's
is that the right year?
Game Dame.
I love Damian Lillard, but he like tore me apart with that shot, and it just came off such a big high because you guys remember Chandler Parsons that just hit the go ahead layup, to put us up 2, and then he hits that series winner, jumps on the scorer's table, everyone's going nuts, and I had such high hopes for that team, and that game broke me so hard that I like swore off sports for like a month after that. I literally didn't do anything related to sports. I didn't turn on anything. Didn't watch baseball. Didn't watch any of the rest of the playoffs. I needed time to recover from that.
That was also like Portland's first series win in like 10 years or something.
Yeah, that team was really good. And looking back, I don't know why they had to break it all up.
Well, they had to break it up because LaMarcus Aldridge was leaving, right?
Did Batum leave first? I can't remember.
They traded Batum because they figured that LaMarcus was probably leaving, so they traded Batum for Noah Vonleh, and then Wes Matthews went to the Mavs, and Robin Lopez went to wherever he went. Where did Robin Lopez go to? The Knicks.
After that,
he went to the Knicks and then the Bulls. Speaking of the Blazers, I mean, obviously that shot was awful, but also that Brandon Roy buzzer beater against us like a few years before that.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, that was a regular season shot, but it was unbelievable at the time. Brandon Roy really sad about his career because he was amazing at the time.
That was the Yao Ming game, man. That guy was so good. Yeah.
F yeah.
Hey, Mod, I'm surprised you didn't. The biggest heartbreak wasn't the Astros.
Yeah, so Astros, that's definitely up there, second on my list. It was the Albert Pujols Brad Lidge game.
Yeah, lights out Lidge.
Yeah, it was. I always remember where I was. I was at UT at our friend's place and watching that game. When it happened, like time just kind of stood still. Like no one could believe it.
Yeah.
You could hear a pin drop on TV, and I'm sure in the stadium.
Yep.
And they tried to laugh it off. I remember Jeff. There's a story like Jeff Bagwell or someone on a team flight after that when they were on their way to Game 6. He like went on the intercom to try to break the tension. He was like, "We just looked at the window and saw Albert Pujols' home run ball still flying." And it wasn't even that bad because we ended up winning the series anyway, the next game. But it screwed up like our whole rotation and everything for the World Series, and which is a different story. But heartbreak wise, that was tough. You guys got any more? Timmy, you got any more?
No, that's about it.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully there's no more heartbreaks this year. Like I always say, I'd much rather lose by like 50 than 1 at the buzzer. Like it's just from a heartbreak standpoint, that's the worst. Let's move on to our last question for today, and it comes at a good time just because NFL draft is happening later today, actually. So NFL draft is happening, and Derek Lamb was just he didn't really put this in the form of a question either. Maybe we need to make that a stipulation from here on out. But he just asked about the NFL draft and what are your thoughts on it? Let's start with
me.
Start with Timmy. He loves the NFL.
Timmy, what are your thoughts about the NFL draft?
Yeah, I think the NFL draft is just too long. There's too many rounds of it, and I'm gonna head out. See you guys later.
Did you know more people watch the first round of the NFL draft than like an NBA Finals game?
NFL is amazing.
Did Timmy really just leave?
He might have really just left. Okay, let's start with Cleveland. They got the first pick, Albert. Who do you think they're taking?
I think it has to be the guy from A&M, Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I forgot his numbers, his combine numbers off the top of my head, but I remember following it on Twitter like the day of or the day after, and I was like jaw dropped, astonished at what he could do from a measurables standpoint. I don't even know if he's a good football player. I just know like from like an athletic freak, like type caliber player, like he is like ridiculous. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this. So for me, I think it's gonna be Cleveland. If it was me, like if I was the GM of Cleveland, I would actually try to trade down, but then I think everyone is already like catching on to what they're doing, and so they're going to be forced to take a pick, and I think it'd be Myles Garrett. What about you?
Yeah, his measurables definitely jump off the page at you. I watched him play a little bit in college, and he's definitely a premier pass rusher. I think the jury's still out as far as if he can become more than that.
Did you watch him? Did you watch him play because your brother is such a huge Aggie football fan?
Maybe that's part of the reason. Yeah, my brother and school spirit don't really go together that much. But let's talk about your Cowboys. Who specifically, or if not specifically, what position do you want the Cowboys to focus on?
So the Cowboys are actually in a very lucky spot in terms of the draft. Everyone knows their recent success. I think they have 7 Pro Bowls out of their last 7 first-round draft picks. Either 6 or 7 Pro Bowlers, which is a crazy hit rate. A lot of it is because you really can't miss that much on offensive linemen, and so they hit on those, and they turn out to be great players. But it's obvious that the Cowboys now need to improve their defense, specifically their pass defense. So whether that's rushing the passer or defending the pass on the outside.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the reports that I've read, this draft is actually one of the deepest for defensive backs, and so I want the Cowboys to focus on either a corner or a safety, or hopefully both, and then
Yeah.
a defensive lineman. So I want like in their first four guys that they draft to be on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I personally think that's always a good decision. For as far as the Texans are concerned, obviously we have an obvious need
Oh man,
for a quarterback, and Tony Romo retiring doesn't help that at all.
he might
But
still join you guys, man.
say what?
He might still join you guys. He might be just slow playing. So the story right now in Dallas is that he might be slow playing this whole CBS sportscaster gig because he doesn't want to do voluntary workouts and OTAs and mini training camps and stuff. He just wants to show up for the games. And he already lives in Dallas, obviously in Texas, and
Yeah.
so he could just sublease a place in Houston and start playing games for them.
That'd be nice. I like I said before in an earlier podcast when we discussed it, I definitely take him. I think he's still got at least 2 good years left. But it sounds like, see, I don't know. Like I feel like the Texans are kind of stuck since we're talking about slow playing. We're slow playing the whole like quarterback position as a team. So as of right now, we have Tom Savage going into the season as our number 1 quarterback, which is a really scary thought for me. But there's reports that we're going to might trade up for a quarterback in the first round, which would be surprising.
Wow.
But hearing like Patrick Mahomes, his name being thrown around.
No, please don't.
Yeah, do you see any of his games at Tech?
Yeah, I watch a lot of his games because we get on Fox Sports Southwest here in the Dallas area, we get all the Tech games. And so
Oh,
I saw like maybe 3 or 4 of his games just last year, and then another 3 or 4 in previous years. I would say that you guys aren't gonna get JJ's brother, JJ Watt's brother.
I don't think he's going to fall that low, but because I remember his measurables at the combine. I haven't seen a mock draft with his name on it yet, but I remember his measurables were really impressive as well.
So they asked JJ Watt about it, and JJ actually said that his brother TJ is way ahead of where JJ was at this point in their player development or player career. And I know a lot of it could just be fluff. A lot of it could just be him helping his younger brother out. But you and I are both older brothers. Like it takes a lot to say that if he really means that,
It's true. Way ahead of the GOAT, man. But with that said, I don't really want us to trade up for a quarterback, especially not Mahomes. Like he has all the makings of Blaine Gabbert right now. Like wasn't really impressive during his college career, but he's tall and can throw the ball really hard, which is pretty much all Blaine Gabbert was as well. And his accuracy is a little lacking. So for me, I hope we kind of follow the Cowboys' stance the last few years and really build our O-line. I hope we start there. And if not, then I want this is a really deep safety class. So I hope we take someone there in the first round.
Yeah, I think a legitimate safety. This is just like general NFL talk, but the way the game is moving, I think a legitimate safety that can play like corner slot, I think they're going to be the most important players on defense because sooner or later, like it doesn't matter if you have like a JPP or a JJ Watt even, because they're going to protect these quarterbacks so much that they're not even going to be able to touch them. And so the only way you can combat these crazy offenses now is just to have these crazy freak athletes guarding the ball. And so, like a safety that can do everything, I think that is the ticket right now, in my opinion.
That's a good call. It definitely sounds like that's the way the NFL is trending now. We talked a little bit before in a previous podcast about how the new NBA getting just smaller, quicker, faster, and that kind of sounds the same way with the NFL. Just getting very pass heavy, obviously, and having someone back there in the at a safety position that has that kind of versatility. You see it in all the top teams nowadays, right? So yeah, safety definitely sounds like it's never a bad choice. As far as specific players, do you have any players that you feel are specifically underrated or overrated going into the draft?
I am not very well versed in the different players in this year's draft, but I will say Patrick Mahomes is very overrated. I also think that Mitchell Trubisky out of North Carolina is very overrated.
Yeah,
I don't think you can draft someone in the first class that's played like 7 games or something like that. Something ridiculous. I think he has 13 games. Like I'm trying to overstate it, but I think he's played like a year and a half in college, and now he's like projected as a top 2, top 3 quarterback that's going to be drafted. I think that's just teams like freaking out and because they need a quarterback, and so they're going to draft a quarterback. For underrated players, I really like, and I don't think you're gonna agree with me on this, but I like the versatility of a Christian McCaffrey out of
wow.
Stanford. I think he can play slot receiver and like a third down back. So I think just his versatility, like he can be like a Darren Sproles kind of. And so I think those guys are just underrated in general. Like I don't even know where Darren Sproles was drafted, and I definitely knew he was overlooked in like the free agency process 2 times. And
Yeah,
he always ends up being like the most important piece of an NFL offense.
that's true. It's funny that you mentioned Christian McCaffrey because I was gonna say that he's the most overrated in this draft.
Yeah. I think it's
But
easy to overrate him, to be honest.
it, I don't know. I don't know how much of that is like from a race standpoint,
Oh.
but just from a white running back standpoint, it's the track record is not good. And but I did watch a lot of his games at Stanford, and he put up all the stats. But when it comes to running back in the league, like for some reason, I don't know. Again, I don't know how much of this is based on his skin color, but I'm a lot higher on Leonard Fournette than I am on Christian McCaffrey.
But so my counter to that is it's a lot easier to be higher in Fournette, right? The guy is like 6'1", 250
Right.
pounds, and McCaffrey is like some skinny white guy. And yeah, like maybe the race does play a part of it, but I think like um, McCaffrey is just a lot more versatile. Like I don't think Leonard Fournette has even caught a ball out of the backfield. Like he's
Yeah.
just gonna get the ball and just run it down your throat, kind of like a Marshawn Lynch. No one thought Marshawn Lynch was gonna be that great, but even speaking of which, he's coming back. Did you see that?
Yeah. Wait, is it official? To the Raiders?
It's basically official. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's funny because this is the first time I can remember in recent memory that we have, 2 running backs slated to go like top 12, top 15. As of right now, the latest mock drafts I've seen, Leonard Fournette is slated to go to the Panthers at 8. So that'd be an interesting pairing, with that power rushing offense with Carolina.
Yeah.
And Christian McCaffrey, I don't know. The jury's still out on where he might fall, but one of the mock drafts has Mel Kiper has him going to the Saints. So talking about the comparisons to what's his face that you
Darren
just mentioned.
Sproles. Yeah, Darren Sproles, Reggie Bush
Yeah.
mold. Yeah, I mean,
All right.
he in my opinion, he's not going to be underrated if he goes like top 15, top 20. If he falls to the late first round or even the second round, then I'll be like, okay, people are underrating him.
It's just interesting to me what the trend is in terms of the NFL draft, like the past few years. Like you had a long draft actually, where there were no running backs taken in the first round, and unless you had like a once in a generation type guy that you thought you couldn't pass up, kind of like last year. But this year again with these 2 guys and the kid from Florida State,
Dalvin Cook, yeah.
Yeah, they're making a running back position seems to be making a bit of a comeback.
Yeah, which I like because I like the ball control possession type offense. To me it's just like To me, it takes more skill because there's a lot more timing, there's a lot more blocking involved, and so it requires all 11 men playing. Whereas
Yeah.
like spread it out, five receivers, shotgun, it's like when you watch the Patriots or Peyton Manning in his heyday. Like I don't hate Brady or Manning or whatever, but they get rid of the ball so quick. Like there's no way a defense can stop it. There's just no chance for a reaction. So the defense
Yeah.
just has to let Wells Wecker catch the ball for 5 yards and then tackle him. Like
Yeah.
I don't like that football. So I hope you're right. I hope it's going back more towards like the '90s where it's more running and more of like a balanced offense.
All right. Well, we'll try to end this podcast now. I know Timmy. I don't know if Timmy's still there or just on mute, but he's still angry that the NFL draft is way too long, and maybe he thinks we've been talking about this too long already. But are you gonna try to catch the NFL draft this year?
Me or Timmy?
You.
I don't have TV, so probably not. I'll just follow it on. I'll follow it on like Twitter or something. I don't. The
There's
Cowboys don't draft until like way late in the first round, so I'm not gonna care until then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm probably gonna hit up the Texans draft party again.
Nice.
One of my coworkers hooked me up with the tickets again this year. So,
Is it located
maybe
at
I'll-
the stadium or is it somewhere else?
yeah, it's at the stadium.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
we'll see how that goes. And so thanks everyone for tuning in this to Pocket Change Thursday. Please throw us a like on Facebook at Pennies Podcast and subscribe to us on YouTube.